All right, let's talk. Life has a way of teaching us lessons when we least expect it. Relationships, they're no exception. Sometimes people step out of your life and you find yourself wondering, will they ever come back? But I'm here to tell you it's not about waiting for them. It's about what you do in the meantime. When someone walks away, the first thing you need to do is step back to chase, not to beg. Step back and breathe, because that space they've created isn't a punishment, it's an opportunity. An opportunity for you to figure out without their shadow hanging over you. You see, when you're sitting in silence, something powerful happens. You start hearing yourself. That little voice inside that got drowned out when you were too focused on them, it says, what about me? What about my dreams, my growth? And when you start listening to that voice, you begin to transform. Here's the truth: people are attracted to value. They don't come back because you waited for them. They come back because you elevated. When you focus on your own growth emotionally, physically, spiritually, you become magnetic. Suddenly, you're not the person they left. You're stronger, wiser, more confident. And let me tell you something, confidence is irresistible. Now, let me be clear. This isn't about playing games. It's not about pretending you're okay when you're not. This is about doing the real work, healing your wounds, facing your fears, and becoming so focused on your own journey that whether they come back or not doesn't even matter anymore. You've got to rebuild yourself from the ground up. Start with your mindset. Ask yourself, what I want for my life? Not what they wanted, not what they expected. What do I want? Then go after it like your life depends on it. Because guess what? It does. When you shift the focus back to yourself, when you stop giving your energy to someone who's not present, that's when things change. That's when they feel the difference. They feel your absence. They realize they lost something they can't replace. But you don't do it for them, you do it for you. Because here's the kicker: when you become your best self, you'll start to attract people who see your worth, who match your energy, who add to your life instead of taking away. And if that person who left decides to come back, they better come correct, because you're not the same person anymore. So don't waste another minute sitting around waiting for someone to validate your worth. Don't spend your energy looking back when your future is calling your name. Use this time to grow, to evolve, to become the kind of person that people can't help but notice. And if they come back, that's their decision. But by then, you'll be so elevated, so focused on your purpose that the choice will be yours. So take this moment, this silence, this space, and turn it into your power. That's how you win. That's how you rise. And that's how you take back control. When someone steps out of your life, especially when it's someone you care about deeply, the instinct to chase them can feel almost irresistible. It's human nature. You want answers, closure, or even just the reassurance that what you had mattered. But here's the truth: in moments like these, stepping back is the most powerful thing you can do. It's not about giving up. It's about reclaiming your sense of self and creating space for clarity, growth, and healing. Stepping back isn't easy. It feels counterintuitive when your heart is screaming to hold on tighter. But holding on to someone who has chosen to leave only tightens the grip on your pain. It prolongs the hurt, the confusion, and the endless cycle of second-guessing yourself. Taking a step back isn't a sign of weakness. It's a testament to your strength. It's a declaration that you respect yourself enough to give the situation and your emotions room to breathe. When you step back, you're not just walking away from them, you're walking toward yourself. This space is critical. It's in this space that you start to hear your own thoughts clearly, away from the noise of the relationship, away from the expectations and the compromises. You begin to confront the emotions you may have been suppressing, the questions you may have been avoiding. You start to ask, what do I really want? Who am I when I'm not defined by this connection? These questions might be uncomfortable at first, but they are necessary. In this silence, in this solitude, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to recognize patterns. Maybe it's the pattern of always putting others before yourself, or the pattern of seeking validation outside of your own heart. When you step back, you give yourself the chance to break free from these cycles. You begin to see that the discomfort of being alone is temporary, but the rewards of self-awareness last forever. Stepping back is also about shifting your energy. When you're consumed by thoughts of someone who isn't present, you're giving away your power. You're letting them occupy space in your mind and heart that could be used to build yourself up. But when you step back, you take that energy and redirect it toward your own well-being. You start to pour that energy into things that nourish you, hobbies, friendships, passions, and goals that may have been neglected. This isn't just a distraction, it's a form of self-care. It's a way of reminding yourself that you are whole even without their presence. It's important to remember that stepping back doesn't mean shutting off your feelings. It's okay to feel the hurt, the longing, and even the anger. These emotions are valid, and they need to be acknowledged. But stepping back allows you to feel them without being consumed by them. It creates a boundary, not just between you and the other person, but between you and the pain. It's a way of saying I can honor these emotions without letting them control me. The beauty of stepping back is that it gives both you and the other person a chance to reflect. Sometimes distance brings clarity that proximity cannot. It allows the other person to truly feel your absence, to understand what life is like without your energy, your love, your presence. But more importantly, it allows you to see the situation from a new perspective. You start to realize that your worth isn't tied to their actions or their decisions. Your worth is inherent, and stepping back is how you reclaim it. This act of stepping back also cultivates patience with yourself and with the process. It's not about playing games or manipulating outcomes. It's about trusting that whatever is meant for you will find its way to you in its own time. This trust isn't passive, it's active. It requires you to focus on your own journey, to keep moving forward even when the road feels uncertain. It's a reminder that growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. It happens in the spaces where you feel vulnerable, where you're forced to confront your fears and insecurities head on. When you take that step back, you're giving yourself the chance to reconnect with your own identity. It's easy to lose sight of who you are when you're deeply invested in someone else. But stepping back is a way of saying, I need to find me again. It's about rediscovering the things that make you unique, the passions and dreams that might have been overshadowed by the relationship. It's about remembering that you are a complete person, not a fragment waiting to be completed by someone else. The power of stepping back lies in its simplicity. It's not about grand gestures or dramatic declarations. It's about choosing yourself quietly and consistently every single day. It's about prioritizing your peace over the need for answers or resolution. It's about understanding that sometimes the best thing you can do for a relationship and for yourself is to let go, even if it's just for a while. Stepping back is an act of self-respect. It's a way of acknowledging that your time, your energy, and your heart are valuable. It's about setting a standard for how you deserve to be treated, not just by others, but by yourself. When you take that step back, you're not closing the door, you're simply choosing to focus on what's behind it. You're giving yourself the space to heal, to grow, and to prepare for whatever comes next. This space, this silence is where transformation begins. It's where you start to rebuild, not for anyone else, but for yourself. And as you do, you'll find that the person who left might come to see you in a new light. But by then, you'll have already stepped into a version of yourself that doesn't need their validation. People are naturally drawn to value. It's an undeniable truth about human nature. We gravitate toward what inspires us, what uplifts us, and what reflects the qualities we admire or aspire to have. This is why when you're navigating the aftermath of a relationship or someone's absence, the focus must shift from what's missing to what you can become. Elevating your value isn't about proving something to others. It's about evolving into the best version of yourself, for yourself. This transformation begins understanding that your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's recognition. It exists inherently within you, waiting to be cultivated and showcased through growth, confidence, and self-discovery. The process of elevating your value starts with a deep self-assessment. It's not about being critical or harsh, but about being honest with yourself. Where are the areas in your life that feel stagnant? What are habits, thoughts, or behaviors that hold you back? Recognizing these areas isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of self-awareness. And self-awareness is the foundation of growth. When you identify what needs to change, you give yourself the power to make those changes deliberately and intentionally. As you embark on this journey of self-improvement, one of the most critical aspects to focus on is your emotional health. Elevating your emotional value means learning to regulate your reactions, understanding your triggers, and building resilience. Emotional strength isn't about suppressing your feelings, it's about managing them in a way that empowers you rather than diminishes you. When you become emotionally grounded, you exude a sense of stability and maturity that others find incredibly attractive and inspiring. Physical growth is another vital component of elevating your value. This isn't about adhering to societal standards or trying to impress anyone. It's about taking care of the body that carries you through life. Whether it's through exercise, healthy eating, or simply getting enough rest, prioritizing your physical well-being sends a powerful message to yourself. In the world, you value who you are enough to invest in your health. The confidence that comes from feeling strong and energized radiates far beyond appearances. It influences the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, and the way you interact with others. Spiritual growth too plays a significant role in elevating your value. Spirituality doesn't necessarily mean religion. It's connecting with something larger than self. Whether that's through meditation, mindfulness, nature, or a sense of purpose. When you cultivate a strong inner life, you develop a sense of peace and clarity that anchors you even in challenging times. This spiritual strength not only enhances your personal sense of fulfillment, but also makes you a source of inspiration and calm for others. Confidence is often the most visible mark of elevated value, but true confidence isn't loud or boastful. It's quiet, steady, and undeniable. It comes from knowing your worth and not needing anyone else to validate it. Building confidence requires stepping outside your comfort zone, taking risks, and proving to yourself that you're capable of more than you thought. Each small victory, each challenge overcome adds another layer to your sense of self-assurance. And elevating your value also involves nurturing your intellectual growth. This isn't about acquiring knowledge for the sake of it, but about cultivating curiosity and a hunger for learning. Whether it's picking up a new skill, diving into a subject you're passionate about, or simply staying informed, intellectual growth keeps you sharp and engaged with the world around you. It also builds a sense of competence and adaptability that others admire. When you're constantly expanding your horizons, you become someone who is not only interesting, but also inspiring. As you grow in these areas, something remarkable happens. You begin to attract people who reflect the qualities you're cultivating in yourself. Like attracts like. When you're confident, resilient, and purpose-driven, you draw others who value those same traits. The relationships you build from this place are stronger, healthier, and more fulfilling because they're based on mutual respect and admiration rather than dependency or insecurity. Elevating your value isn't a quick fix or a temporary project. It's a lifelong commitment to yourself. It's about recognizing that you are your greatest investment and that the time and energy you pour into your growth will always yield returns, not just in your relationships, but in every area of your life. This journey requires discipline and patience. It requires you to show up for yourself every single day, even when it's hard, even when progress feels slow. But as you continue to elevate, you'll start to notice subtle shifts. You'll feel stronger, more confident, more at peace. You'll notice that you're no longer seeking validation because you've learned to validate yourself. In the context of relationships, this transformation is particularly powerful. When you focus on elevating your value, you're no longer approaching relationships from a place of lack or need. Instead, you're bringing your whole elevated self to the table. You're not looking for someone to complete you. You're looking for someone to complement the incredible person you become. And when you exude that kind of self-assuredness, you don't have to chase anyone. The right people will naturally gravitate toward you, drawn by the energy and value you bring into their lives. Elevating your value isn't about changing who you are. It's about uncovering the best parts of yourself and letting them shine. It's about embracing your strengths, acknowledging your imperfections, and committing to growth, not because you're trying to prove something to someone else, but because you recognize that you deserve to live a life that reflects your fullest potential. This journey is one of empowerment, self-respect, and self-love. And as you elevate, you'll find that the world around you begins to shift in response to the changes within you. Doing the real work of self-improvement isn't about simply making superficial changes or pretending everything is fine when it's not. It's about digging deep, facing your flaws head on, and making a conscious, committed effort to evolve into a better version of yourself. This work requires you to confront things you've been avoiding, to let go of behaviors and habits that have held you back, and to build strength from the inside out. It's messy, uncomfortable, and often painful, but it's the only way to experience true growth and transformation. The real work starts when you stop relying on external validation and begin looking inward for the answers. At the core of doing the real work is self-honesty. It's easy to lie to yourself, to convince yourself that you're okay when you're not, or that everything is fine when deep down you know it isn't. But real change begins when you take a long, hard look at yourself and admit where you're struggling. It's not about being overly self-critical, but about being truthful with yourself. It's about saying, I'm not where I want to be, but I am willing to put in the effort to get there. This requires courage because it means acknowledging your weaknesses and your mistakes without letting them define you. Self-honesty is the starting point for every meaningful change you'll make. The next step in doing the real work is confronting your fears. Fear is a powerful force that keeps you stuck in old patterns and prevents you from moving forward. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of the unknown, these are all deeply ingrained in us. But the only way to move past these fears is to face them head on. Instead of letting fear control your decisions, you must start using it as a signal to grow. Fear often arises when you're about to step outside your comfort zone. And that's exactly where the magic happens, when you push through the discomfort and take action despite the fear. It's not about eliminating fear, but learning to act in spite of it. The real work involves reframing how you perceive fear. Instead of avoiding it, you learn to embrace it as a necessary part of your growth process. Building resilience is another crucial part of doing the real work. Life isn't always going to go according to plan. You're going to face setbacks, disappointments, and failures along the way. But how you respond to these challenges will determine whether you keep moving forward or get stuck in the past. Resilience isn't about never falling down. It's about having the strength to get back up every time you do. It's about learning from your mistakes instead of letting them defeat you. Resilience means taking every obstacle as an opportunity to learn and grow. It's about developing a mindset that doesn't view failure as a reflection of your abilities, but as a stepping stone to success. Another vital aspect of doing the real work is emotional regulation. Your emotions are powerful, and while they are valid, they shouldn't control your actions. The real work means learning how to respond to emotions in a healthy and productive way. It means not letting anger, frustration, or sadness dictate your behavior or decisions. Instead of reacting impulsively, you take a step back, breathe, and respond thoughtfully. Emotional regulation is key to building a strong, grounded version of yourself. It's about taking ownership of your emotional well-being rather than letting external circumstances dictate how you feel. When you start managing your emotions effectively, you stop letting them hold you back from making rational decisions and moving forward in life. Doing the real work also means shedding the layers of self-doubt and insecurity that may have been built up over the years. We all have moments where we question our worth, where we feel like we're not enough. But overcoming these feelings requires you to go deeper than just positive thinking or surface-level affirmations. It means challenging the negative beliefs you've internalized and replacing them with the truth that you are worthy, capable, and deserving of success and happiness. You don't need anyone else's approval to be who you are. By confronting your insecurities, you build a foundation of self-acceptance that allows you to move through life with a sense of inner peace and confidence. It's a long process, but it's the most important work you'll do. Another key aspect of the real work is developing a sense of discipline. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It requires daily effort, consistency, and sacrifice. The real work means showing up for yourself every single day, even when you don't feel like it. It's about pushing through the tough days, staying committed to your goals, and building habits that support your vision of who you want to become. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward when motivation fades, and it's the driving force behind long-term success. It's not always glamorous or exciting, but it's the backbone of real change. By developing discipline, you learn how to stay focused on the bigger picture and make decisions that align with your long-term goals rather than getting caught up in short-term temptations or distractions. Doing the real work also involves taking responsibility for your actions. It's easy to blame others or external circumstances when things go wrong, but the real work means owning up to your part in the situation. It means acknowledging your mistakes, learning from them, and doing better next time. Taking responsibility empowers you because it puts you back in control of your life. Instead of feeling like a victim of your circumstances, you realize that you have the power to change your future through your choices. It's about shifting from a mindset of blame to a mindset of accountability, where you recognize that your actions and decisions shape your life. The real work is not about finding a quick fix or a shortcut to success. It's about putting in the time and effort to build a strong, resilient, and grounded version of yourself. It requires deep introspection, emotional growth, and a willingness to push through discomfort and fear. It's about making the decision to show up for yourself every day with unwavering commitment and determination. The real work doesn't always feel easy or glamorous, but it's the only path to lasting change and transformation. When you do this work, you stop waiting for things to change on their own. You take control of your destiny, one decision and one action at a time. When you begin to focus on your own growth and elevate your value, something profound starts to happen. You begin to create a space that radiates strength, independence, and self-respect. As you build yourself up, you naturally shift the dynamic in the relationships around you. The energy you bring to every interaction begins to transform not only the way you perceive yourself, but also how others perceive you. In doing so, you set the stage for a different kind of relationship, one where you no longer feel the need to chase anyone to prove your worth. This is when real, lasting change happens. When you stop focusing on trying to earn someone's love or attention, you begin to attract people who align with your elevated self. The first shift in energy that occurs when you stop chasing is that you no longer operate from a place of desperation. Desperation is like a magnet for imbalance. It pulls people in, but not in the way that sustains healthy, fulfilling relationships. It's an energy that says, I'm not whole unless I have this person in my life, and it can often lead to one-sided dynamics where you are constantly seeking validation or approval. When you stop chasing, you stop sending out that desperate energy. Instead, you operate from a position of power, grounded in self-worth. You no longer feel the need to beg for attention or seek reassurance that you're valued. This shift changes the entire nature of your relationships because you stop needing the other person to validate your existence. As a result, your relationships with others are more balanced, authentic, and built on mutual respect rather than neediness. This shift also opens up space for personal boundaries to be established and respected. When you're constantly chasing someone, you're often neglecting your own needs, desires, and limits in order to gain their approval. But once you begin to focus on yourself and stop chasing, you realize that your time, energy, and emotions are valuable. You start setting boundaries that protect your peace and well-being. These boundaries might look like prioritizing your own goals over constantly making room for others, saying no when necessary, and standing firm in your values. By establishing and maintaining these boundaries, you communicate to yourself and others that you are not available to be drained, manipulated, or taken for granted. This creates a more respectful and equal dynamic in your relationships. Another profound change that happens when you stop chasing is that you begin to reclaim your personal power. When you're chasing someone, you're essentially giving away your power. You're saying that your happiness and fulfillment are tied to the actions and decisions of someone else. When you let go of the chase, you stop depending on external validation for your sense of self. You take back control of your own happiness, realizing that it's not someone else's responsibility to make you feel whole. The strength that comes from reclaiming your personal power makes you less susceptible to manipulation or emotional games. As you stop chasing, you start to attract people who respect you for who you are, not who you pretend to be or who you hope to become. It's easy to get caught up in trying to be someone else in order to gain someone's approval. But when you stop the chase, you let go of any false facades. You embrace your true self, flaws and all that this authenticity becomes your strength. People are drawn to authenticity. When you stop pretending to be something you're not, you create a space for real connections to form connections based on mutual understanding and respect. The right people, those who are truly aligned with your values and your vision for the future, will naturally gravitate toward you. The false relationships that were built on pretense or neediness will fade away, making room for those that are grounded in honesty and mutual growth. At this point, you start to become the kind of person who doesn't need to chase anything at all. You realize that your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's opinion or actions. This shift in perspective allows you to embrace a more peaceful and balanced approach to relationships. You become less reactive and more responsive, understanding that your peace is never worth compromising for the sake of someone else's attention. By releasing the need to chase, you also stop tolerating behavior that doesn't meet your standards. You no longer settle for relationships that are draining, unfulfilling, or disrespectful. Instead, you prioritize those that contribute positively to your life. relationships that are based on mutual growth, support, and understanding. The most profound impact of stopping the chase, however, is the way it allows for true emotional connection to form. When you stop chasing, you stop turning relationships into transactions, where love and affection are exchanged based on how much you give or how much you please the other person. You stop trying to win someone's affection through sacrifices or compromises that go against your values and his values. Instead, relationships become about connection, not manipulation. You learn to communicate openly, share your feelings honestly, and engage with others in a way that honors both your needs and theirs. When you stop chasing, you also stop holding on to relationships that are no longer serving you. You begin to recognize when it's time to let go, to walk away from relationships that are not aligned with your growth and happiness. This liberation makes space for new, healthier relationships that are rooted in mutual respect, trust, and emotional safety. Additionally, as you stop chasing, you learn to trust the process of life. When you're constantly chasing something, you're operating out of a fear of loss or scarcity. There's an underlying belief that if you don't chase after what you want, it will slip away forever. But when you stop chasing, you shift into a mindset of abundance. You begin to trust that the right people and opportunities will come to you when the time is right. This shift in belief creates a sense of peace and certainty in your life. You stop feeling anxious about the future because you trust that everything will unfold as it's meant to, and that your value will be recognized by those who are worthy of it. In the end, when you stop chasing, you don't just attract someone back, you transform the entire nature of what you're attracting. You become magnetic, not because you're seeking attention, but because you are at peace with yourself and your life. This peace and confidence create an aura that draws in the people who resonate with your energy. Those who are worthy of your time, energy, and love will step into your life because they recognize the value built within yourself. And if someone returns to your life after you stop chasing, they do so because they recognize that you are not someone to be taken for granted. They return because they've seen the transformation you've made, and they realize that your absence has made them appreciate you more. You've created a space where mutual respect and appreciation can flourish, not because of what you did to get them back, but because you focused on becoming the best version of yourself. When you begin to invest time and energy into your own development, something extraordinary happens. You no longer become reliant on someone else's presence to feel complete or validated. The moment you realize that your worth is not dependent on the approval or attention of others, especially those who may have once held a significant place in your life, you start shifting the entire framework of your existence. It's not about finding someone who makes you whole, but about discovering that you always whole. This realization allows you to free yourself from the chains of dependence, leading to a sense of freedom and emotional autonomy that many people never fully experience. It's crucial to understand that self-worth doesn't come from being loved or desired by others. It comes from within. When you focus on your own growth, you start to form a deep connection with yourself that's independent of anyone else's opinions or actions. This means you can't be swayed by rejection or emotional manipulation. You no longer seek validation from external sources because you have already found that validation within. This is an empowering place to be because when your sense of self is rooted in your own love and respect for yourself, you stop needing someone else to complete you. Your identity is no longer tied to another person's actions, behaviors, or affection. This shift in mindset creates an emotional stability that allows you to navigate relationships with strength and confidence. When you operate from this place of emotional independence, you also develop a greater understanding of what real love is. You stop seeking love out of a place of desperation or need. Instead, love becomes something you offer freely without expectation. You understand that love isn't about possession or manipulation. It's not about controlling or forcing someone to stay in your life. Real love is about mutual respect, understanding, and choosing to be with someone who also values themselves enough to honor the relationship. When you stop seeking validation from others, you can freely give love, not because you need it, but because you want to share it with someone who is equally emotionally healthy and stable. This transformation in your understanding of love also shifts how you view relationships. You start to see them not as a source of emotional fulfillment, but as an avenue for two whole, complete individuals to come together and grow, support one another, and build something meaningful. You stop seeing relationships as a way to fill an emotional void. Instead, you approach them as a partnership between two people who already have their own lives, passions, and two people who already have their own lives, passions, and purposes, but choose to come together and enhance each other's lives. This perspective frees you from the emotional pressure of needing someone to change, grow, or behave in a certain way to make you feel loved or secure. By putting your focus on your own self-worth, you create a new standard for the type of people you allow into your life. You no longer settle for relationships that don't respect your value or align with your vision. As you become more emotionally independent and self-aware, you naturally attract people who appreciate you for who you truly are, not for who you pretend to be or who you hope to become. This shift in mindset allows you to start attracting partners who are emotionally mature and capable of giving love in the way that you deserve, without the drama or manipulation that often characterizes unhealthy relationships. You become more discerning about the people you allow into your circle. The relationships you cultivate are based on mutual respect, emotional intelligence, and a shared commitment to personal growth. Equally important is the fact that by focusing on your own value, you create emotional space to heal. Healing from past wounds, especially from relationships that may have left scars, requires time, self-compassion, and a focus on your own well-being. When you stop seeking external validation and look inward, you can begin to address the emotional wounds that need healing. These wounds may stem from past experiences of rejection, abandonment, or betrayal. The process of healing involves allowing yourself the time and space to grieve, process, and eventually let go of the emotional baggage that holds you back. In this state of emotional healing, you stop carrying the weight of past relationships and experiences into your current life. You start to release the anger, resentment, and hurt that may have previously clouded your perception of love and relationships. This healing journey is not linear or easy, but as you begin to let go of your need to chase or seek validation from others, you find that the healing process accelerates. When you no longer have your self-worth tied to someone else's presence, you're no longer emotionally dependent on someone else. To make it better, you take full responsibility for your own healing, which puts you in the driver's seat of your emotional well-being. You learn to manage your emotions in a healthy way, replacing unhealthy coping mechanisms with positive habits like journaling, meditation, physical activity, and self-care. The more you invest in your emotional well-being, the more you create an emotionally stable foundation from which to build future relationships. At this stage, you also begin to realize the importance of emotional boundaries. These boundaries are essential in protecting your peace and well-being. When you stop chasing, you stop sacrificing your emotional health for the sake of someone else's needs or desires. You become clear about what you will and will not tolerate in your relationships. You stop allowing people to take advantage of your kindness, manipulate your emotions, or make you feel less than. Healthy boundaries are not a sign of weakness, but rather a sign of strength and self-respect. You recognize that your emotional energy is precious, and you choose to protect it. This not only makes your relationships more fulfilling, but it also keeps your heart safe from emotional harm. The most profound impact of focusing on your own value is that it allows you to truly stand in your power. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself and chase after affection. You learn to stop looking for external sources of validation because you already have everything you need within. This shift in power dynamics means you no longer live in fear of being alone or being rejected. You learn to see alone time as an opportunity for growth and self-reflection. And it's a punishment or a sign that something is wrong. You realize that being alone doesn't mean being incomplete. Instead, it means being whole and content in your own company, free to create your life on your own terms. When you are no longer chasing anyone or anything, you stop living in a state of emotional scarcity. You no longer approach life with the belief that you need to earn someone's love or affection to feel worthy. Instead, you approach life with a sense of abundance, knowing that you are worthy of love, respect, and happiness, regardless of who is in your life. You embrace the idea that your worth is intrinsic, not contingent upon others' actions or behaviors. You attract love, not from a place of neediness, but from a place of abundance and emotional strength. This shift changes everything. It changes how you view yourself, how you approach your relationships, and how you experience life as a whole. It is the foundation of a healthier, more fulfilling existence, and it sets you up to experience a deeper, more meaningful connection with others.